Hi, it's Claudia, and stick around because today I'm making some fruit salad. Actually, I'm making a fruit salad quilt. This is the pattern by Charisma Horton, and I can't wait to show you how to put it together. So behind me is my finished quilt top. It's not quilted yet. I still need to do that. From the fruit salad quilt pattern by Charisma Horton. And I just want to start this video out by thanking her. She had approached me to see if I wanted to do a video of one of her quilts, and she sent me, she was so generous, this wonderful goodie bag. It had a bunch of her patterns, including fruit salad, some fabric, some different strips and things like that. Let me hold it up. It's kind of heavy. It's a lot. So I picked one out. There are a lot of patterns in here that use the same tool, and I'm going to show you that in a second. So first and foremost, I have to thank Charisma for her patience. She sent me that bag of goodies quite some time ago. I don't remember how long ago. I had a lot of things going on when I agreed to it, and she's been very patient. So it's been a long time in the making of this quilt. So I thank her for her patience. I also thank her for asking me to do this. Her patterns are beautiful. I don't know if you've ever seen them. Head over to her website, www.charismascorner.com. You will see them all. And she recently built this gorgeous big pink barn, and you got to check it out because she has all her quilts and things in there. She does lots of long arm work and designs wonderful patterns. So I am a scrappy quilter at heart. I mean, I make all kinds of quilts. I design all kinds of quilts, but I am truly a scrappy quilter at heart, and I love a scrappy quilt. So when I was looking at all those patterns, I thought, which ones of these would be great with scraps? Fruit salad stood out to me. I love the way it looks. I love a brighter background too. I love a bigger background. So I decided to go with fruit salad. And then I thought, well, she sent me all those gorgeous strips, like rainbow packet of different colors. But I didn't want to go solids because I love a scrappy quilt, although there are gorgeous scrappy solid quilts. I shouldn't say that because I love a solid scrappy quilt too. But I decided to go with some batiks. I went with an Isla Batik line. I had a strip set. This pattern works really well with a strip set of 2.5-inch strips or jelly roll. This is from their line called Bold Blooms. So pretty. All kinds of really pretty, just like pinks and greens and purples and yellows. You can see it on the back behind me too. And lastly, I really wanted to try one of her patterns from her Banana Split series. I wanted to make sure I read it right. There's the template. She sent me a couple of these templates too. Really awesome. I don't do a ton of work with templates. So again, I wanted to kind of challenge myself with this one. It's the Banana Split series. She has a lot of patterns that use this template. She designed this template. It's a great template to use, perfect for this pattern and some of her others. And it's also fun to play with. And I'll show you that in a few minutes when I'm showing you how to put together a block for this quilt. It has an A and a B side. It's really easily labeled. The instructions for the template are in here. So and it gives you some ideas. There's even a table runner pattern for it. So you don't have to make a quilt with that template. You could do your own thing or get one of her other patterns in the series, because I think when I looked in fruit salad, I think she had 7 or 8. She might have more by now. One of the nice things about the fruit salad pattern though is if you don't have, let me just unfold this. If you don't have the template, the Banana Split template that she designed, I mean, it's a perfect tool for it, but if you don't have it, she does have paper templates, so you don't need it to make the pattern if you don't want it. So when I show you how to put together a block for this, and this quilt is basically made of blocks. Let me just show you one of them like that. And they're just put in alternating rows. I'm going to show you a picture because when I first set up this videotape to tape this morning, I noticed after I had hung up my quilt, and this quilt's been laying out for a while, I had sewn one of the rows wrong. So I'm glad I caught that before I started filming. But they should be in opposite directions. I love the way this quilt turned out. To me, it's like butterflies, and they're like dancing or fluttering around the quilt. I'm not sure I'm going to quilt it yet. I'll send it to my long armor. This is a little bit bigger for me to quilt than I normally do. So stick around. I'm going to show you how to assemble the quilt top specifically the blocks. I will not be giving any measurements. This is Charisma's pattern, and I don't want to do that. You can pick this pattern up at her website, www.charismascorner.com. You can pick up the banana split tool as well, and check out all of the other patterns she has. You might want to get a couple at one time, or maybe there's one that strikes your eye more than this one. But this was definitely for me. Scrappy all the way. I love the way it turned out. I trying to decide now what color fabric backing and what color thread to quilt it with. I'm thinking maybe yellow or pink. So I showed you the pattern, I showed you the tool, and I want to tell you a little bit more about that tool in a minute. And now I'm going to show you how we assemble one of the quilt blocks and how we get this quilt top together. Again, just a reminder, I'm not going to give you the measurements. This is a pattern you can get over at charismascorner.com. I'll have the address up on the screen. But let me show you how we assemble a block. So for each block, you're going to need some pieces. You're going to need a couple of squares. You're going to need some strips. You're going to need some triangles. And then you're going to have a couple of triangles that you made using that banana split tool. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do now. So let me just leave one of these out so you can see how it's cut. And I'm going to start with these two strips sewn together. Okay. And then you need this tool. And I have to tell you, I'm in love with this tool. Comes with all the directions you need, and this tool isn't just for this pattern. Like I said before, she has a lot of patterns in it, and you can make up your own as well. So basically what you're going to do, and I'm going to show you how to use this. Let me move out of the way. There are two sides to it. There's a triangle template A, which you can read on the front, and then if you flip it over, you can read the triangle template B. So you can tell which side you need to cut, and in the directions of this quilt pattern, it will tell you how many you need of each piece, how many of you need of triangle A, and triangle template A, excuse me, and then how many you need of triangle template B. But I'm just going to show you how easy it is to use. I'm just going to flip it over. You're going to line it up. See, it even has a printed line along here. Maybe you can't see that. Hopefully, there you can see it there. A nice dotted line, which you're going to line up on your seam here. Line it up on the top, on the sides, and hopefully if you use that 1/4 inch seam allowance, it worked well. And let me get my rotary cutter. Now hold it down. I hold it down really tight because it can shift a little bit, and you're just going to put that rotary cutter up against the side of the template and make your cut. There you go. It is that easy to use this banana split series, template. It's just so much fun to use. And I have some templates, I don't have a lot. So there you go. And this was, I believe, this was a triangle template B. So when you're making the pattern, you want to keep your sides organized because you're going to use one of each template for one block. Now the cool thing about this template, and if you get the template, it has instructions for like a table runner, and it tells you what to do and the sizes you need. I can show you can just play with this. If you had a bunch of leftovers, you could just maybe, here we go, put these together like this. You'd have a little square unit. Let me just pull that down a little bit so you can see it better. I cut a whole bunch of these at one point. Like I said before, I love a scrappy quilt. So that is what I really love to do, and this is perfect for that. You can even just sew them like that, so you just have that diagonal line and just a little interest there. Let me see another one. You can change up the colors really easily, make it super duper scrappy, like that. So you're gonna have, you could play with this tool for days. It's just so much fun to use. But for the pattern, you definitely want to follow the instructions on how many pieces you need of your template A and your template B. Very easy to do. So once you've done that part of it, you're going to start assembling your block. And like I said, you need the various pieces. You're going to sew them together. You're going to have one unit. You're going to need 2 units that look like this. My white's shining a little brightly. Sorry about that. I decided to use white with my background like she does on her cover. And then you're going to need 2 units that look like this. Well, 1 unit like this, and there's a subtle difference in that. And then 1 unit, I'll put them the same way so you can tell, that's like this. So you can see there's that seam. Remember that dotted line on the banana split ruler? That's that seam there, and then this seam goes a little different way. And that's because when we sew the block together, it you'll see how it looks in 1 second. So you're going to need 2 of these and then 1 of each of these, and that's with those different triangle templates. There's an A and a B. I don't have them labeled, so I'm not sure which one's which, so I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. So once you've done all those, I like to do it step by step. I piece all my pieces at once, and then you're going to sew it together, and it's going to look like this. And there you can see those little triangles. Let me just show you on this one really quickly. See, there's a little triangle here. There, that one would be like that. It adds just a little bit more interest to this block, which is what I love about it. It gives it a little bit, almost a twinkle to it. And you can really offset and make these really different colors. You can make them kind of the same. I'll show you in a second the picture of her quilt. She did a much more organized version, but this is the block you're gonna get. Isn't that pretty? I really love this block. It reminds me, to me, it's like a butterfly. I know the pattern is called fruit salad, but it's almost like butterflies flying around. And when you saw the quilt earlier, and I'll show you again in a second, there are some points to match up. I do want to give you a couple of tips when you're making this block. Important tips. One, you definitely want to maintain that 1/4 inch seam allowance. There are some points here. You want to make sure they're all, you know, nice and even and your block turns out the size it needs to be, but you want to use that 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then accurate cutting. Sometimes I can be, and I'm going to fully admit this, I like to rush things, and so sometimes I don't cut it quite right. Sometimes you can sort of adjust your pattern a little bit and make it fit, is what I say. But in this case, you definitely want to do accurate cutting. You want to get nice sharp pieces so you get that really pretty butterfly shape or fruit salad shape. And then lastly, these squares here, these white squares, or whatever color you're going to use, they're cut on the bias, and you want to watch when you're sewing on the bias. Sometimes it can stretch a little bit, so just watch when you're sewing those 2 triangles. And these also have a little bit of bias in them, so let me show you what I mean. So it just stretches a little bit, so just a little extra care when you're sewing. I sew a little bit slower when I'm sewing pieces on the bias, but those are my tips for this one. And here is one block. Now let me show you quickly her pattern again up close. You can see she sort of did some alternating colors. Maybe I'll hold it up a little bit. Maybe you can see it better. That shines on a little bit. There you go. And you can see how she used light colors and then organized them more. So like this row has all orange and purples. This row has all reds and yellows. I decided, because scrap quilts, I love scrap quilts, and this is scrappy too, don't get me wrong, sort of more organized scrappy, I guess I should say. I just sort of mixed and matched everything. I did keep these 2, let me show you, I have another one. I tried to keep these 2 colors in the same family when I was making my banana split triangles, but other than that, everything else was mix and match. In fact, I tried to mix and match it as much as I could, because again, I love a scrappy quilt, and I think scrappy quilts, they twinkle a little bit, they're like stars, and these are like butterflies fluttering around everywhere. So let me pull out my quilt, you can see it up close. All right, so here's like part of the quilt. I'll show you. You saw the whole thing. I'm going to show you here in a second the whole thing again. But there you can see the various blocks, and they are set. If you see how they're set, so this, how do I explain it? These wings, I'm going to call them wings, are pointing this way. These wings are pointing this way, so each row alternates. Again, that gives it a lot more movement. You don't have to do it that way, but I really loved the look of that. It just adds a little more sparkle to it, and with the scrappy look, I really like how she offset them like that. So there we go. I'm going to pull it over a little bit more. There you can see all the different colors in that gorgeous fabric. You can see how they come together. When I make quilts, it's funny, I make my own internal rules, and they're just my own thing. I don't know, it's almost like a game to me, and I say, well, I can't do this that way. So in each block, I tried really hard not to use the same fabric. That's just the way I do it. And then when I was pairing them up, the way I pieced it together with the blocks, I would try in each of the each of the 2, not to have the same fabrics. After that, you know, all bets are off. There's only so many fabrics in this quilt because I used a strip set. But and you can do it the other way the way you want. Like I said, she did a great way. I love the way she did a little bit more organized with the same colors in each row. Let me pull that pattern out one more time. So there you go. You can sort of see how it just looks more organized, and I love that look too. But just for my personal taste, I just went with this one instead. And I love, this is just such a happy quilt, and part of it's that fun, beautiful Island Batik Bold Blooms fabric. But this is the way it looks. One thing that's interesting, I always like to do like little look at patterns that are created, sort of sub patterns. Look at this, there's an arrow created. So if you wanted to color your quilt differently, you could definitely highlight that arrow if you wanted. That's just, I was noticing that when I was hanging this up on the wall, and I was like, oh, there's a little arrow there. So definitely play with it, color it the way you want. Great pattern. All right, I'm gonna give you one more look at the quilt. Here's my fruit salad. Love the bright colors I used, love the scrappy look of it. Here's her pattern. Again, it's Charisma Horton. Thank you, Charisma, so much for your patience and waiting for me to do this video. Like I said at the beginning, I had some things come up, some family issues, that kind of thing. So it took me a long time to get to this, and I do apologize for that, but I appreciate your patience. And most of all, thank you for this big bundle of patterns that you sent me. You were so generous. And also, thank you for the banana split template. I hope you guys give this a try. This pattern is fruit salad. I'm Claudia from Create with Claudia. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.